Welcome to the podcast. If you'd like to listen to an ad-free version of this episode and all of our episodes, then search True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts and press subscribe. That's our premium channel where all of our ad-free and advanced episodes live, all in one place. True Crime Today Premium Plus. Search it on Apple Podcasts and press subscribe. Even try it for 3 days free.
You're about to take a deep dive into one of the biggest true crime cases in the universe. Or, at least, on our part of the planet. From the Hidden Killers podcast and True Crime Today.
Sean Diddy Combs, a name synonymous with the glamour and glitz of the entertainment industry, is now at the center of one of the most shocking scandals in recent memory. The man who once defined the intersection of music, fashion, and entrepreneurship is facing an avalanche of allegations. Accusations of sex trafficking, abuse, and exploitation, stemming from over 100 individuals, have cast a shadow over his once untouchable public persona. For many, the revelations have been devastating, but for his mother, Janice Small Combs, the emotional toll is unfathomable. For any parent, particularly a mother, the idea of accepting that their child might be capable of such monstrous actions is difficult to even begin to process. The human mind is, in many ways, built to protect itself from unbearable truths. When faced with something as dark as the allegations against Diddy, a parent might cling to denial, questioning the validity of the accusations or attributing them to ulterior motives. For Janice, this seems to be the case. In her public statement, she expresses profound disbelief in the charges and paints a picture of her son that is far removed from the predatory figure that prosecutors are describing. She began her statement with palpable sadness, calling the accusations devastating and profoundly saddening, but immediately pivots to frame them as fabrications. "It is heartbreaking to see my son judged not for the truth, but for a narrative created out of lies," she wrote, her words dripping with the pain of a mother who cannot reconcile the son she raised with the man he is accused of being. There is a psychological complexity in Janice's response that goes far beyond simple denial. The accusations against Diddy are not minor or fleeting. They are deeply disturbing and suggest that his actions span years, if not decades. For a mother, this isn't just about protecting her son's reputation. It's about protecting the core image she holds of him. Admitting that the allegations might be true would mean not just admitting that Diddy has done terrible things, but also accepting that she has lived in ignorance of who her son truly is for all these years. That kind of cognitive dissonance can lead people to create alternative narratives that allow them to maintain their sense of reality. Janice's narrative is one that denies the more heinous accusations while acknowledging that her son is imperfect. In an almost resigned tone, she admits, "I am not here to portray my son as perfect because he is not. He has made mistakes in his past, as we all have. But for her, those mistakes are not indicative of the larger pattern of abuse that many now claim defines his life." She points to the video of Diddy physically assaulting his ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura in 2016 as one of those mistakes, a moment of violence caught on tape that she does not deny happened. And yet, even in acknowledging the video's authenticity, she is quick to minimize it, implying that it's an isolated incident and not part of the larger, more troubling accusations being made. "My son may not have been entirely truthful about certain things, such as denying he has ever gotten violent with an ex-girlfriend when the hotel's surveillance showed otherwise," she wrote, referring to the infamous video footage. Here, Janice walks a fine line. She admits Diddy lied about the incident, but in doing so she frames it as a singular event, one regrettable moment in an otherwise decent life. This minimization, however, overlooks a critical aspect of the accusations against him, that the abuse, exploitation, and violence are alleged to be part of a long-standing pattern of behavior, not just a one-off mistake. In the wake of the video and Cassie's subsequent lawsuit, which was settled out of court, more allegations surfaced. Over 100 individuals, both men and women, have come forward accusing Diddy of sexual exploitation, coercion, and even sex trafficking. These are not casual accusations. They speak to a level of abuse and manipulation that goes far beyond a singular incident of domestic violence. But for Janice, Even as these accusations pile up, she sees them not as the damning evidence of a deeply problematic man, but as opportunistic attacks on her son's wealth and fame. "It is truly agonizing to watch the world turn against my son so quickly and easily over lies and misconceptions without ever hearing his side or affording him the opportunity to present his side," Janice said. Her statement reflects the desperation of a mother who feels that her son has been prematurely judged, his guilt assumed by the court of public opinion before he's had a fair trial. But it also reveals a deeper conflict, one between the narrative she wants to believe and the overwhelming evidence that suggests otherwise. The psychological weight of being the mother of an accused predator is staggering. It is natural for Janice to want to protect her son, to believe in his innocence, and to push back against the notion that he could have done these things. But in doing so, she may be falling into a trap that many family members of powerful individuals find themselves in: enabling. The term enabler is often used to describe those who, through inaction or denial, allow destructive behavior to continue. While Janice may not have directly condoned her son's actions, her insistence on downplaying his past behavior, particularly the assault on Cassie, might have contributed to a culture where accountability was never fully demanded of him. When a person is surrounded by enablers, whether family, friends, or colleagues, they begin to believe that they can act without consequence. Diddy, as a man who wielded enormous power in the entertainment industry, was likely insulated from criticism for years. People looked the other way when his behavior crossed the line because he was Diddy, too important to confront, too powerful to challenge. Janice's refusal to accept that the settlement of Cassie's lawsuit was anything more than a legal formality is indicative of this mindset. She suggests that settling the case was simply a way to avoid prolonging the ordeal, rather than a tacit admission of guilt. "This is why I believe my son's civil legal team opted to settle the ex-girlfriend's lawsuit instead of contesting it until the end," she explained. But to many observers, the quick settlement seemed like an attempt to sweep the incident under the rug, to avoid further scrutiny into Diddy's behavior. And for the federal government, it appeared to be an admission of guilt, a sign that there was more beneath the surface than the public was being told. As federal agents raided Diddy's properties and built a criminal case against him, the accusations against him took on a new dimension. No longer were these allegations confined to individual incidents. They were part of a larger criminal enterprise. Diddy was now being accused of orchestrating a network in which women were coerced, drugged, and exploited for his own gain. The gravity of these accusations is difficult to overstate. They suggest not just a man who has made mistakes, but a man who has used his power, wealth, and influence to systematically abuse and control others. Still, Janice remained steadfast in her defense of her son. For her, these were lies, fabrications designed to bring down a successful black man who had risen to the heights of fame. These lies thrown at him are motivated by those seeking a financial gain and not justice, she wrote. Her belief that the accusers were motivated by money is not uncommon among family members of the accused, particularly when the accused is wealthy and famous. It's easier to believe that the allegations are part of a conspiracy to extort money than to accept that someone you love is capable of such dark behavior. But as the number of accusers grew, the argument that this was all a money grab became harder to sustain. Over 120 individuals have come forward, many with stories that echo similar themes: coercion, drugging, violence, and exploitation. Some of the allegations are particularly disturbing, involving minors who claim to have been abused by Diddy when they were vulnerable and seeking help in their careers. These stories, detailed in lawsuits and interviews, paint a portrait of a man who systematically preyed on those around him, using his power to manipulate and control. Janice, however, sees things differently. In her statement, she makes a plea for understanding, urging the public to withhold judgment until her son has had his day in court. "Like every human being, my son deserves to have his day in court, to finally share his side, and to prove his innocence." It's a reasonable request. Everyone is entitled to a fair trial, but it also reflects her deep unwillingness to believe that the accusations could be true. The psychological toll of this is profound. To accept that her son might be guilty of these crimes would mean accepting that she has spent her life loving someone she didn't truly know. It would mean grappling with the idea that her son, the man she raised and nurtured, has become a villain in the eyes of the world. That kind of realization is devastating for any parent, and the mind will often go to great lengths to protect itself from such a painful truth. Denial, minimization, and shifting blame are common responses to such overwhelming cognitive dissonance. At the same time, there is a question of whether Janice's defense of her son crosses the line into enabling. By downplaying his past violent behavior and dismissing the accusations of over 100 individuals, she may be contributing to a culture in which Diddy feels untouchable. If family members and loved ones refuse to hold someone accountable, that person may continue their destructive behavior, believing that they can act without consequence. In Janice's case, her unwillingness to fully confront her son's past actions may have allowed him to believe that he could continue behaving as he allegedly has, without fear of repercussion. The public's reaction to Janice's statement has been mixed. Some sympathize with her, understanding that a mother's love for her son is complicated and deep. They see her as a woman in an impossible situation, caught between the love she has for her child and the overwhelming evidence against him. Others, however, feel that she is enabling his behavior by refusing to fully acknowledge the seriousness of the accusations. They believe that by downplaying the video of Diddy's assault on Cassie and dismissing the other allegations, she is contributing to a culture of denial and impunity. As the trial approaches, the tension surrounding the case continues to build. The world is watching closely, waiting to see if Diddy will be found guilty of the charges against him, or if he will be vindicated as his mother so desperately hopes. For Janice, the trial will be a turning point. If her son is convicted, she will have to grapple with the reality that the man she defended for so long is guilty of the crimes he's accused of. If he is acquitted, she will feel justified in her defense, her belief in his innocence reaffirmed. But regardless of the outcome, the psychological and emotional toll on Janice will be immense. To stand by her son through these accusations, to face the world as it judges him, and to live with the uncertainty of his fate is an ordeal that no parent should have to endure. Her love for her son is clear, but as the evidence mounts, the question remains: has that love blinded her to the truth? For now, Janice waits, as does the rest of the world, for the trial that will determine the future of Sean Diddy Combs. And in the meantime, she continues to believe in his innocence, holding on to the hope that the truth, her truth, will eventually come to light.
In a world where the darkest secrets lie just beneath the surface,
They said it was an accident, but the evidence says otherwise.
where hidden killers roam unnoticed in the shadows.
I think you would definitely be looking at a blend of toxic, very bad narcissistic personality traits, and they will be vengeful and possibly resort to violence.
Join Tony Bruschi as he uncovers the truth behind the most chilling cases.
They said it was an accident, but the evidence clearly says otherwise.
Each episode, we dig deep into the minds of those who commit the unthinkable.
To your point on narcissism, he thinks in his own mind how witty he is.
Yeah.
But he lost that jury. I was done with him in 2 minutes.
From unsolved mysteries to infamous crimes.
Geez, you've just talked about how you've taught yourself how to do everything under the sun. I bet you did a YouTube video, how to best kill somebody with a knife.
Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi takes you where few dare to go.
How does someone with such a dark secret go unnoticed for so long?
With multiple new episodes every single day.
We're not just telling stories, we're seeking justice.
Listen now on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi.